Hey, live on Pat Soundbytes Unplugged podcast. Pat Calamari here, keeping new music alive on the radio, on videos, anywhere I can get it. And man, do I got another track. I tell you, I never let you down. There's all kinds of great new music every day, every night. You know, the hits are great, but I got to tell you, when you got to hear this band, it's been around for a while, but they have popped up now and they're rocking and rolling. Desert Dragon, if you see behind me, this is This Side of Heaven. Just came out on Veterans Day, November 11th. Got some great tracks. Bad Luck, Swamp Thing. God bless God bless, I want to say USA. God bless Miss America. Yes. But they also got a couple of great tracks called Lock and Load. And if you watch what I do, you know what I always do, my folks. I always play the video so you get an idea of what we're talking about. And I want you to definitely go to Desert Dragon, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and tell all your friends and share it, because you know what? It's all about the analytics. And if enough of you like it, the thing can go video, and it really would help these guys out. I mean, you know, you've heard it from me about the music industry. Spotify is all great. So they say 3 million downloads, and these guys are making $35. So totally ridiculous. But anyway, we'll save that for another show, because I got Greg and I got Keith on the On Deck Circle. So enough of me yapping away. Let's rock with Desert Dragon and Lock and Load right now. Stop the share, and we're going to bring back Mr. Greg Patnode, a founding member, guitarist, and new vocalist of the group, the incredible Keith St. John. Where are you, brother? Yeah! Lock and Load. My goodness. Desert Dragon, This Side of Heaven. We're at the bar. We're at the casino. Lucky 7, Kingston 7, little Maryland, little everybody here. My goodness. I love that song. I mean, it would blow your mind. You don't know where it's going. I don't know if anybody even touches upon this type of sound. Congratulations, fellas. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah.
What's cooking, Greg?
Oh, not much. Is glad to be on your show, and it's a great background you have to you. That's the album was pretty cool. I think they're like, oh well, I got to have an album cover. So, and I've got a great artist guy. His name is Greg down in Mexico City, and awesome artist. And I had some ideas of how I wanted this put together. See, I love that. I have like how I wanted to put it together. Basically, put a little bit of each of the parts of each of the songs, or as much as we could, into the picture. So for instance, Bad Luck, we're in the casino. The dealer, right behind him is that's Swamp Thing. And then on the other side we have Marilyn Monroe.
Right. And then you got the Vulture, Vulture City.
God bless Miss Morgan. We got Vulture City up there. And it's I thought it was kind of a cool thing. I got the idea from that old, when you're kids, you saw that black light poster that has all the dogs, the bulldogs, whoever around the table, the poker table, and they're smoking cigars and playing.
Oh yeah. The one has the aces under, right? He's holding the aces.
Right. Yeah. So that's where I kind of got the basic idea, but then I took it from there and kind of customized it a bit.
No, it looks great, and I kind of like, man, this sounds like like you just said, it's a piece of the album or a piece of the tracks. I'm like, man, I'm not, I mean, I'm losing my mind. I've been around too long, you guys, but I'm like, This is something to do with the track, and I love the flow of the album. I got to say, I love it. I don't think anybody does this type of music. I mean, it's got that great intro. I love back to Lock and Load. I just love the what they call it, the videography of you're looking at the Grand Canyon all over the place. I love that type of stuff. And then it takes off. Then you guys rock and it takes off, and it's like, I love songs that there's a lot of time signature changes, like when you think it's over and then it picks up and kicks ass again. That just gets me crazy.
Gotta keep it alive.
Keith St. John, what's going on, man?
Oh, just you guys call me, and I'm getting a space here together in Vegas because I'm doing this. If you can believe it, I'm doing this 5 nights a week a residency in Vegas for a few months here. So we'll see how that goes. And I've been doing it. It's classic rock. So I love all that old stuff. I love doing all the 60s and 70s and a little bit of the 80s rock. So it's fun to get out. I mean, it takes a little bit away from the creativity, but that's what I've been doing. And I've been waiting for the Desert Dragon record to be ready to be released, and here we are. We've come. I think it's been a couple of years down the road with this, because we had to stop working on it. COVID hit, and this hit, and that hit. And guys live in different cities, so I'm real excited this is out now, and I'm ready to hear people's response to it. It's a very diverse record, as you've heard. There's a sort of a large scope to the work here. And a lot of that's the way it was written. Greg and his partner Michael, they've had a Desert Dragon for many years, but this is my first record with them. So all three of us together, coming from very different spaces, have I think come up with this very eclectic melting pot.
I like that.
You've got sort of some classical music background and some old school rock and roll, and then some more kind of romantic period type of thoughts, from me maybe, and it all blends together into a mishmash like it used to, like in the 60s and 70s. Guys were getting together who were writing music that did not grow up on rock and roll necessarily, so we've got guys in the band who grew up on marching band or being in a classical orchestra, or or grew up on Randy Rhoads, all these things, so they've all become this crazy melt. Like you said, this track, Lock and Load, I mean, it just, you don't expect what it's going to do. It's got this big sort of ELP-ish, like fanfare, like intro, with this, this Barry sax solo.
I know, the sax was like, whoa, this is pretty cool.
Ethereal keyboards with these little rhythm section stuff. And you're like, okay, there's something heavy sneaking up here, but what's it going to be, and like you said, the video with the the sun, the reverse sunrise or whatever, and then all of a sudden it becomes this aggressive deep purplish thing and takes off. So having said that, I mean, that says a lot about sort of the rest of the record and kind of the mentality of where the stuff goes, so I'm excited.
Well, you said a lot there in about 2 minutes. First of all, raiding the Rock Vault. I believe you're out there in Vegas, right? My man Joel Holstra. I know Robin McCauley was out there doing that. I want to say, I think where is it at the Rio now? Somebody said
it's at the Rio. It's at the Rio. We just had Joel in for about 2.5 weeks.
I know. Now he's on TSO. So I love Joel. He's a great guy. But well, so if you're out in Vegas, go check out Keith. You got to do this. I'm glad that it's back. And I got to get back out to Vegas and definitely check that out.
Come on out, man. We'll roll out the red carpet, the purple carpet, every carpet we got.
We're gonna roll the dice is what we're gonna do, Keith.
Right.
I'll tell you about the dice game in a second.
We're gonna lock and load, man.
Lock and load. Yeah, when you started talking, you just can't get the smile off your face. Like, this is a great opportunity to get this phone call from Greg or Michael to go, look, I've done a lot, but there's something unique. I mean, I was sitting the last couple of days going, how would I describe this to my listeners? And I think of, in my notes, I wrote like progressive rock, but more. I hear, like you said, Deep Purple. I hear like a Pink Floyd. I hear a Yes. I hear ELP, as you mentioned. But it's more than that. It's not roundabout. It's not, there's so many different, great songs. But the intro, where these songs take you, I don't know if anybody is currently do that. And I hear Zeppelin. I hear, like we talked about, Judas Priest. There's so many different elements to it. And just watching you talk and this big smile on your face is like, I can't wait to see you guys do this live with a little light, with a little laser thing going on. Christ, the place is going to erupt. So,
bring some acid, man. Bring some organic mushrooms with you, man. And it's funny. I made a comment about your shirt earlier when we were talking, and I just noticed seeing myself, but my sleep shirt is an old. It's an old.
Yeah, I see that.
It's an old Gunzo T-shirt with Tracy Guns on it, who used to play in Raiding the Wrong Fault as well, man.
No.
We're gonna have to get Greg out here to do some Zeppelin and Aerosmith and all that crap with us.
Yeah, that would be cool. It's funny because we played with this place over here in Negura that we're. Keith, we used to hang originally on stuff over here, a place called Canyon Club, and we played with LA Guns. And he goes, hey, I really like that shirt. And I go, I like shirt. He goes, okay, let's just barter. We'll switch T-shirts. And so we switched. He gave me one of his, and he took a Desert Dragon.
Cool. So, I went to see Nickelback last night, and I got this 2000. I wouldn't say my last Nickelback concert, but I bought one back in 2007. And the band photographer comes up to me and goes, "Can I take a picture of you with that?" There's nobody in this arena that has that. So I said, "Yeah." But I promised. I bought a new T-shirt because I told the guys I would. Greg, as I mentioned, I mean, prog rock and more. I don't know if that even defines it. How would you define this sound?
Well, I like to mix a lot of different stuff in there. I've got a lot of influences, rock, metal, even, if it's got some edge to it, some country stuff. I like instrumental fusion stuff, Jeff Beck stuff. I mean, and Pink Floyd, and Rush, big admirer of those guys. And, I guess it's got everything and plus the kitchen sink,
Yeah, not many albums can say they got a sax and then they got a violin, I'm like, It does have, I mean, when you hear the violin, what is it? My scribble half of my crap here. You got the one song, South Side of
Heaven.
South Side of Heaven,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, pretty unique and cool. Like I said, I'm mesmerized that I don't know. I like to try to connect it to this or that, but there is no connection for what you guys do. So I certainly
that guy who plays that violin, his name is Adal Eskander. He's a violinist from Page Plant's 90s tour. He's one of the Egyptian string guys. And
wow,
I was lucky enough to meet him years ago, and he agreed to come in on some big Led Zeppelin tribute extravaganza stuff, like one-offs, and we became pals. And he does, like I said, all that quarter tone, all that legitimate, Eastern stuff. And, he was in town. He was in LA when we were in the studio. And I was like, man, we got to get this guy. We got to get my buddy. You're going to love him to come in here and put something on this intro that's just going to give this song some more extra gas, and
it does.
and he did, and it's like, and that's another song where, you know, Greg has these ideas, you know, a lot for intros and outros and middle sections that sometimes you hear them and you just go, what? But then you go, okay, I can make this work. And then you do, and you're like, wow, you know, this is really, you know, it's like, what do they call them? Happy accidents in the studio. You know, you take your style and put it over something that you maybe never would have sang over or whatnot. You know, and South Side of Heaven's another perfect example of that, you know, where it's like this huge mishmash. I don't know, that album, that song must have had like 120 tracks on it or something that got weeded down, but there was so much done to that song. That was like, I think that's Greg's like, but you know, what was it, the swan song on the record, right?
Yeah, so. It's pretty epic.
Greg, well, let's talk about the songwriting process. I mean, you, Michael, and Keith. Let me start with you, Greg. Where did it all start? You grab the guitar, you grab a drum, electric drum beat.
Yeah, I just grab a guitar and I just start playing. And you know, if I, you know, some days is nothing, some days I have a little, some days I have a lot, you know. But and if it really sounds good, I try to refine that and then you know, put it to a click, and then I add drums to it, and then I add the bass, and then maybe some keyboards at that point if it needs it, and then vocals, and then I top it off with some lead guitar.
Excellent. And then you, I mean, were you all in the studio together, or it was just like a COVID thing that you had to send it back and forth?
Yeah, not at first. No, we kind of, Michael and Greg had worked up a good amount of demos, demo-ish versions of the songs when I got them. And as I was working on what I was doing with them, they were actually even sort of changing them and refining them. So there was a lot of moving parts that kept moving. And I'm one of these very what would you say, like on the spot kind of
spontaneous, jump right in
hands kind of guy. You know, when I record something for the first time or demo something for the first time, I like to hear it for the first time as I'm singing. So I'll have my mic up and everything turned on, and that's when I'll listen to the track, but I'll also be inspired to sing some stuff. And a lot of those magic happy accidents happen in those moments. And then I'll call Greg and I'll go, hey man, there's this section and that section and that section I think have some real amazing magic. You know, I'll come over tomorrow and I'll go over there and get on Greg's canvas on the studio and kind of just say, okay, this is what I think should happen arrangement wise, and cut it all up. And Greg will be like, all right, well, why don't we try it and see what's going on? And there's a lot of freedom in our writing, the way things go between Michael, Greg, and I. Very rarely were the three of us together. Those guys might write something, me and Michael might work on something, me and Greg might work on something alone. And it was a pretty healthy, I think, overall writing process. You know, there was really no like big band fights and one guy storms out of the room.
No ego, no drama, no bullshit.
And, you know, somebody throws a table and, you know, but that didn't, and I won't name names, but that didn't happen. And
we're getting too old for that, Keith. Those days, oh God.
It took maybe a little bit longer, but like you guys said, I mean, it was kind of COVID time and we had the time because there was almost no sense to like, you know, try to press down and get a release going when everything was locked down. So that was our process. I think I was probably the most drastic guy, honestly, who would come in and flip things around and just go, okay, that's out, this is in, half that, do this, put this over here. I think, you know, but Greg is very, he's very open-minded to hear, you know, what that could be. You know, he's not like, no, this has to stay, you know, and except for some things, you know, like that intro to Lock and Load, you know, for the longest time, Michael and I were saying, Greg, why don't you just start the song with the guitar, you know? So, you know, it's just like that whole Deep Purple. I wouldn't. Up. But then after a while, you fall in love with it, right? You realize the value of it's such a dichotomy, you know, like another world, and then.
I would not change a bit of that. I love the intro.
You know, that's Greg's love for prog rock, really, and those types of things. You know, Pink Floyd and those, you know, music more out on the fringe.
Yeah, that's for sure.
From the straight up.
Well, and Keith, look, you're the lead vocalist. You have to sell it. you're an important piece of the puzzle here. Whether if you go to a live show, you got to sell it like you own it. So yeah, if you throw in your stuff, and Greg and Michael go, yeah, this will work, or tell us your ideas, because it's got to come from you. You got to sell it to the fans, like it's you. So your take of it is so important of it.
If you don't have a good singer, you could have the greatest. You could have Joe Satriani, Jeff Beck, whoever, and it still might not get put together right, because people listen to the vocals. It's about the singing.
Absolutely. What caught your attention, Greg, about Mr. Keith St. John to say, hey, what about this cat? I mean, Kingdom Come, Burn and Rain, Montrose. I mean, why don't we get him a ring and see if he's got 5 minutes for us?
Yeah, well, our bass player knew Keith, and it's weird because I met Keith about 3 months before Rick said that, and I look at it, I go, wait, I think I know this guy. And so I called him. I go, yeah, I met you at Canyon Club like 3 months ago or whatever. And, check this music out, see what you're, thinking, see if you're into something like this. And he seemed to like it. So I go, okay, let's do this thing.
But you probably liked it, Keith, because it's so different, right? It's something out of your normal range of things. Like, it's out of the boundaries, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a lot of what I get in my world of stuff that I do is in a very particular genre, and similar in a similar area, guitars, drum wise, and most things, and this stuff really took me back. It took me back to like the 60s and the early 70s, and that whole melting pot of what was going, like the Zombies meets like something, like Don McLean meets Free meets some of Zeppelin, and I'm like, wow, I could, and the Beatles, I could really get into working on this because this is fun, so
that's exciting. Look, I seem like every time I interview somebody, it's what they call a super group, or just getting guys out of their box. So they got a different producer who said, no, Keith, hit this range or try something different. Try to get the best out of people that they never knew they had, because they're so used to doing, I don't want to say complacent stuff, but like you said, the same type of genre, maybe heavy metal or metal, and then you got progressive rock, as I call it, and more. It's like, holy shit, man, this is pretty cool. That, like I said, I said it a few times already. I don't know if anybody has really touched upon something of what your uniqueness of the of music is.
Well, I think they were doing more of that. Like I said, back in the day, back when people weren't necessarily growing up on, had already grown up on Ozzy and AC/DC, and were just trying to sort of, kids grew up mimicking that stuff already.
Right.
So it's kind of like an almost regurgitation, but we got guys here who were old. So, we, or like me, when I was a kid, I was just sort of in the closet from the whole rock world, and, playing jazz and playing in classical orchestra and doing all that. So yeah, it's a unique thing when these guys, for example, who's the guy who played the Ozzy records, Bob Daisley, right? He was a tuba player in marching band. That's why his bass lines are so prolific. He's really understands where like music really following the classical rules needs to go. So bringing that element and so much more. And Randy was studying classical, so it was just so, nothing else sounds like that.
No,
it's just so unique. And Randy does a lot of those asides and little guitar soliloquies that are just, they bring your ear down to a place, and then of course they hit you.
And then they watching some of the videos of the documentary of him at the whiskey, and it was just eyeballs, it was silence just seeing him go at it. It's like, who is this cat, man? Wow.
It's mind blowing, man. And for me, I love that, everyone, of a certain age or older kind of grew up listening to the Beatles as kind of like, okay, well, this is the rule book, they did everything from A to Z, right? And my era is kind of like what I would call the romantic period. I like it when it's really complex and there's a lot of major minor stuff right before it goes 20th century, right before it goes White Album. I like that too, but
I like
I
that.
like to back it up just a little bit, back into the Tchaikovsky, meets, the Mozart and all that stuff. So you'll find some of that stuff, and God Bless Miss America, has
Yeah, there you go.
that major minor ELO sticks chorus thing to it that, brings you there.
Yeah, the Grand Illusion, right? Like
Yeah.
Paradise,
Exactly.
Grand Illusion. I mean, I get that feeling. Greg, where did you find your love for music? Was it your parents watching the Beatles?
Yeah,
And
well, I grew up with a piano in the house, and I was always clanking on the piano, and so my mom says, I think maybe maybe wants a guitar. So he got my grandfather rented an acoustic, old beat up acoustic guitar for me, and I got and I got guitar lessons from when I was, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years old, and and just went on from there. Had a lot of different teachers, and I'd like to see different people's styles and thought patterns of how they put together music, or what things go good together and everything. And it then I just kind of took it from there, and I had a vision, and I go, okay, well, I'm gonna get some cool people together, and I'm gonna put this vision into, because I don't think this style has really been touched on that much, at least what I'm thinking. And so let's do it. And so here we are. It's I've got some stuff out there. We have some stuff out there.
well,
So
as we were saying before we hit the record button, I remember you guys save the world, save my world.
yeah,
And what were you looking for something different and grabbing Keith, or moving forward with the band? I know I read, like, a little bit more high energy, a little bit different. What was the main ingredient for you to say, let's do this and do it again, but this is what I'm aiming for? What was your
well,
initial goal and objective?
the last album, I thought there's some really great songs I liked on that, and I still listen to them now and just think, wow, that's really cool. My wife said, like, hey, make it, this next album, make it a little bit more, make it a little bit more heavier, and maybe a little darker or whatever. And and I thought, yeah, it kind of really does need that. So I made that happen, and so it took a little longer. It's not usually the way I do things, but it wound up better in the long run.
Oh my God, it's excellent, man. You got a lot to be proud of. Keith,
Thank
you mentioned jazz. How did it all start for you? Just piano, or where did it go? How did
Uh,
you find the love for music?
yeah, I mean, I was a kid growing up in New York, on Long Island, so we weren't that far from the city. And a lot of my family, my grandparents and cousins, were all in the city. So, I mean, it was kind of a habit when I was a kid to get into Broadway shows, and go with my grandmother to the Met. And so I was exposed, kind of on one part of my brain, to a lot of more complex music and whatnot. And at a really young age, and always appreciated. My mom, she was given piano lessons when she was a kid, but she rejected it as she was getting older, because she was taught piano with the ruler. And they say things skip generations. My grandpa was like just a natural music player, and had his accordion and all his instruments that he had, and could sit down on anything and just play it, guitars and pianos and this and that. And as I found out later, so there was a dusty old piano always in our house that, mom never used. And they were, my parents were young, and they were school teachers, and they were still in college. So they were never in the house. And I was an only kid. So discovering music was me, like, eventually going over to the piano and going, ding, oh, what can this do? Ding, ding, ding. Oh, what's that weird note if you hit that one? Versus, and I'm like, let me mess with this a little bit, because I like the difference in how I feel when I play that. And so for me, the first music I had was just stuff I was noodling with on my own. And I was just kind of I was one of those kids who I could do my own thing for 10 hours and just be like in my own head, inventing shit, or out in the woods.
Cool.
And, in the long run, I think that worked out with my creative flow, because I wasn't great socially at all. But, you asked me to, solve a math equation, or, give me this puzzle or give me that, and I'd kind of be that kid. So as I got into elementary school and further, I wanted to be in bands. I'm like, man, I want to do that. I wanted to do that. And of course, every kid wants to play the drums, but they had too many drummers at first, so they made me play the trumpet for a little while. And then luckily, I got braces. So I physically couldn't play the trumpet anymore. So the band leader liked me, and I said, yeah, we can use another drummer. So for a while, for a long time, I was a drummer and started collecting this drum set. And we had basements, as you know, back east. And, I got put down in the basement because that was
making too much.
Clearly the only place tolerable for a drum set, right? So eventually, from my, guys from choir and the other sort of school-based music stuff I was doing, I found other guys who liked, pop music or rock, snuck them down the back door into the basement, and we started playing together and jamming. And, that's how it all started for me. And really started. That's like the very beginning, right? And it's, it's funny, some of those tunes I probably jammed in the basement singing. It was just two of us at first, so we both sang. And, I grew up kind of singing and playing drums together. So when you learn something as a kid, it's easy. A lot of people say, playing drums and singing is like, oh, fuck, whatever, chewing gum and walking at the same time, it's impossible, or whatever that expression is. And so when I got older and went to my first year of college, I saw these, things at the student union, these posters up looking for band members, and one looked really good, and it looked kind of a little more bold, and like some rocker guy definitely put this up, and they were looking for a singer and a drummer. So I wanted to play drums for the band. So I auditioned on drums, and in the long run, they wanted me to sing. Singing didn't really seem like, it just seemed like something everybody did. It wasn't like my focus, like, oh man, I want to be that. But then these guys handed me some Judas Priest tapes and some Iron Maiden stuff, and I had never heard any of this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is challenging as hell. But, I learned it, and I was able to do it, and it worked out. So, and the clothes were all glammy. The stuff we had to wear was all fun and stagey. And I'm like, and in those days, the clubs on Long Island and New York were just full of these metal chicks, and it was like, wow, this is just an amazing other world, So that's it, man. That's pretty much the whole story right there in a nutshell. I got sucked in. And then from there, it was, I got involved in something and got a record deal, and got to LA, and I'm still kind of bouncing around. I'm still right there. I'm still that person just kind of bouncing off the next thing, and somehow it works.
Nothing wrong with that, brother. Were you on the island for the whole Twisted Sister and Rat Race Choir and Zebra?
That was before my time, man.
Oh, I'm a dinosaur.
I'm friends with, I've been friends with some of the guys from Twisted, not D. I know D's son. D's son is out in LA now, and he's working with a couple of my cronies. And a Rat Race, Mark Hitt, was it?
Yeah, Mark just passed away, sadly.
Oh, God bless him, man. I got to talk to him, and I got to meet him and talk about those days, but I wasn't around. But you know who I am good friends with is Zebra.
Oh, Randy Jackson.
Yeah. I just visited Randy last time I was on Long Island. We get together and we had lunch while I was out there, and it's like
that's cool
for me, because those guys, when I first went in those clubs that I was telling you about, they were the legend. They were the guys. So the other band guys would be like, okay, well, this is what Zebra did, and this is what Twisted did. We got to, follow that same formula. Everyone wants to,
right?
Follow what worked. And they were like the big legends at the time. And when I was introduced to Randy, it was because I was tributing Ronnie Montrose after he passed away, and Bob Buckman, the big radio DJ from Babylon, who was the big New York rock guy, WBAB growing up, he moved to California, and he was DJing down in San Diego. KGB or something, and I met him and we started talking and we became good friends. And then, like, he was the guy who got Zebra their deal back on Long Island. He brought them to Jason in Atlantic. And so my first introduction to the Zebra guys, to Randy, was out in a pouring rain parking lot because no one wanted to walk into the club and kind of through the crowd and be seen yet, waiting for time to go on. And I met him and he's like, come on down here, I'll introduce you to the guys. And ever since then, it's been a great relationship with Randy and Felix and Guy. And it was like a dream. Like a month later, Randy invited me down. He's like, hey, I got some West Coast dates. Why don't you come down and sing some songs? I was like, whoa,
Yeah, I mean, that was the deal. You go to Long Island, you go to Westchester, you go to Northern Jersey, and then you come up to Poughkeepsie at the Chance.
That's right.
And do that whole circuit. I mean, it was just nonstop, man.
We played the Chance. We played the Chance in like 2018 with Kingdom Come, I think it was. And it was just great being there. And we opened for Zebra.
Nice.
And it was like a Wednesday night or something. And it was just, it's a weird thing. I mean, Kingdom Come really was kind of just getting itself back on its feet. It was our first ground tour. They hadn't played with their original singer Lenny since 1999 or 2000 or something like that. So this was like just the very beginning. So those were the kind of slots we were getting, at a Tuesday night. The Chance, Zebra can pack that place.
Oh my God! They up here
on a Monday, so
they sell out Daryl's house before it's even announced, and I'm 5 minutes away from Daryl's house, so it's crazy.
But those guys are amazing human beings. I mean, Randy's just a terrific human being.
Oh, absolutely.
He's come
I've actually met him a couple of times down in Louisiana in what is it, Kenner and Metro. God, it's on the tip of my tongue, but Randy's great. Greg, absolutely. What's the plan? Are we ever okay? Is there a plan for getting this album out on tour?
I mean, this, once like I said, I mean, kind of we're old guys, and now, Greg's had to explore new methods now because everything is social media. And that's where you're going to get your popularity now. Everything's on the web, social media, YouTube channel and stuff.
That's why I played the video.
Greg's really been working on that. And that's got to build. And each time we release a single, hopefully, we'll have a new video for it. And just through those media, try to get some sea legs on those songs, which will translate into hopefully on the band itself. And then as that's happening, hopefully, at that point, we can book some live stuff.
No, very important. It's all about the numbers. That's why I played the video. The video can go viral tomorrow more than people listening to me on the radio show. So I totally agree. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, go to Desert Dragon and do whatever you need to do. It would be sad not to see you guys perform this incredible tracks and then some on a stage. What do you think, Greg?
This track, if you're listening to rock and roll, my advice is you need a doobie.
I knew he was going to say that.
And a Bic lighter, or even one of those light yourself matches you can strike, and just bring it back.
You're amazing, Keith. What were you saying, Greg?
I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that.
I've never said that before. How did you know?
Oh, well, look, this is great.
You had that devious look about you.
That's why he liked me. Remember, he said we got to go darker.
Yeah, he did say that. He did say that. Courtesy of his wife. Go heavier and go darker, Greg.
Yeah.
So after this interview, the wife's going to say, see?
Greg,
if not, trust me, I hear about it later.
Yeah. A happy life is a happy wife is a happy life. So I'm redoing a kitchen floor, so you don't have to tell me about it.
Yes, you know how it goes.
You can go see Nickelback, but you better get that floor done before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right. That's it. Exactly.
Well, hopefully it's Pergo and not tile. Well, hopefully you're not doing it yourself.
Right. Greg,
tell me about the other bandmates in Desert Dragon.
Yeah, well, we got the other guitar player, Brent. He's a friend of Keith's, and I go, well, other guy moved out of the city, moved up to San Francisco, and I go, well, we need someone closer. So he's out of town too, but I think he's a bit closer. But and Keith goes, "Hey, I got this guy. He's really good guitar player, real nice, cool guy, and everything." And for me, you got to get along with the people first.
I got the chemistry, right? You gotta
have the chemistry. You got to have the vibe. You got the feeling there, or it's just gonna go clunky, you know. So real cool guy, Brent, and he come out and did lay down some of the solos and stuff for the stuff, and really like the stuff. And whenever I go out towards his neck of the woods, I go over there and we have a beer and stuff and have dinner or whatever. And then Mike, I've known Mike for a while. He's the keyboard player, Michael Smith, and he great keyboard player, has like so many old vintage keyboards to get all the cool sounds. It's amazing. And we'd get together, do writing sessions, and we go, okay, this is working. Okay, well, no, this isn't working. Until we just got the vibe right, and then we got some rough tracks together and stuff, and we sent them over to Keith, and Keith dug them, and he kind of took them from there, and then we did a little bit more rearranging, and then Rick, our bass player, he's like kind of like my right hand guy, because he knows music inside and out. He also plays from time to time cello for the LA Philharmonic. He's
wow,
really, really creative and talented guy, and he actually did the video that you saw. He did the editing and all that. Yeah, he's a solid editor. And then we have for the drummer, another friend of Keith's, Lenny Roberto, and he's a real, I like to call Lenny a slick drummer, because he plays to the song just like it's glue, and gives it just what it needs, no more, no less. And it's just makes things real easy in the end to deal when he plays like he does. So Lenny's can't say enough good things about him. He's and a real super nice guy. And I think I got everyone there, but yeah.
I always have folks. I'm not a musician. I took piano lessons, but it was with a group, and the lady was like blowing way ahead of me. I'm doing When the Saints Come Marching In, and she's like, I'm like, all right, forget that right now.
Faster, come on.
Yeah. Right. But Greg,
Catch
tell
up.
me about I always get some of my listeners always ask some guitar gear questions. So Greg, what's your go-to guitar? Your Gibson, I see one sitting over there, Fender, Strat.
I'll pull it up right now and show you. This is my go-to guitar right here, and it is a Les Paul Custom Black Beauty. It's a 2010, and I'll tell you what, with my other part of my setup and everything, they just sing together so well. I like this. I have an old vintage Jackson, US made one. I play sometimes. Actually, I bought that off Steve Lynch from Autograph years ago. And then I have a 12-string acoustic Martin, and a Gibson Songwriter Deluxe acoustic, and I have a mandolin, and I got a few different things. But
never enough guitars, right, Greg?
More guitars the better, right?
Yeah.
So.
Keith, do you do any warm-ups before you get on stage rocking the rock vault? Do you do anything crazy?
Well, absolutely. The singer thing is when you're doing 5 days in a row.
Ooh.
You barely have enough time, even on your time off, for your voice to keep recovering. So you learn how to do it. That's a singer's torture. In life, you can't party, and you just have to just hang and do your warm-ups, get up, go do your diligence, and do more of the classic, what you hear in lessons that you're supposed to do normally. You have to apply all this stuff early in the day, do some light warm-ups, try to lighten it all up and get it above, get it up in the mask and the head and all that. Train your voice to be in the right spot all the time. And then, and also in the singing, you gotta do things in ways where you're not you're not like just taxing your throat. You know, you got to make sure you're not taxing your chords and singing from here. You got to just always use more proper technique, which isn't easy when you're doing like Jim Morrison stuff or Mick Jagger stuff, because those guys, they're just very guttural, you know, on those tapes when they're young. You know, they're just, it is kind of all from here, but you know, you find ways to still make it sound right and use better technique, I suppose. So
I've been blessed to hang with the great Mark Slaughter, Paul Rogers, Glenn Hughes, and I always asked them, you know, Paul would say, look, a lot of sleep, 8 hours of sleep, no matter what.
Oh, yeah, the sleep.
Glenn, he says, I'm on a tour bus, I put a mask on, I don't want to know nothing, I got to get, and a lot of, obviously, water, hydration.
Absolutely.
Mark would tell me, you know, Mark would say, hey, I could do interviews all day long, but I can't jump into the recording studio or I can't do a show. He says he explained that talking is, I don't want to say worse, talking can damage the vocals more than singing. So
Yeah,
he says, when I'm
absolutely.
doing a show, I try to go, hi, bye, nice meeting you. I don't want to get into a whole conversation because it definitely affects how he gets out there.
No, I get that 100%. And I try not to, especially right after these shows, I try not to talk. I just kind of duck out. And no, he's got a good point, because you didn't train yourself to talk properly, you know.
Right.
When you go into singing mode, it's a different, you know, you put the air where it's supposed to go. You're not doing that when you're just talking to people. So
here, I just met John Waite last Sunday, and he does no warm-ups, no nothing. I go, dude, what happens if you get on stage and it's not there? And he goes, knock on wood, never. He goes, even if, and he wasn't really feeling too well. He said, the minute I just get on stage, something happens. And once I get through the first song, I'm pretty well okay. But yeah, he goes, it could be scary when you don't, not that he doesn't take care of himself, but he just finds himself, he doesn't, for his case, he doesn't feel the need that he has to do any of that.
Well, I used to feel that way as well, you know, in my teens and 20s. And
yeah, but you're doing 5 shows a night,
but,
you know, 5 shows in a row is a little bit aggressive compared to some of these other guys. They do a show, they're off for 2 days, they do a show. You'd think about, you know, back in the, well, again, I'm a dinosaur in the 80s. You see all these bands night after night after night after night after night. It's like, holy crap. You know, as a fan, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Then I get into the music industry on this side of the table, and you go, holy shit, man. It's like, oh, it's work, you know, and doing it and having a couple of drinks, having a little this, the women to this, to that. Holy crap. It's a whole, yeah, I can see where things go crazy. Greg,
yeah,
where can
I mean, if you have to sing in any kind of challenging register, you know, you definitely picked a vocation where you got to be the guy that doesn't party. You know, you got to.
Yeah, no, you got to sell it. Greg, where can
boring guy and go, yep, let me go get in my coffin and they'll pull me out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Greg, where can we everybody go buy the album and download? Or
yeah, go to desertdragonofficial.com, and all the links to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and everything is up there. And you can buy the CD or any of the singles you want on there. And it's got the music video on there, and it's got a picture of our mugs on there, and the picture of the album. Yeah, and you know, some stuff maybe we've done in the past, maybe stuff we're going to do in the future. So yeah, it's at desertdragonofficial.com.
I love the album. I love the artwork. Congratulations. You guys hit it out of the park. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have.
Very much, Patrick. Very much. Thank you.
We got to do it again. It doesn't get any better than this. Yeah. Greg, and see Keith in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right here.
That'll be up. That'll hopefully at one point it'll happen. I would love to do it.
There you go. It doesn't get any better than
Patrick, man. You like pulled a Gilbert Gottfried there, man.
Look, come on, Calamari. You got to be a little nuts and crazy. You're a New Yorker. Come on. You know the deal.
That's true.
It's all good. Keeping new music alive with Desert Dragon with Greg and Keith. Oh, I didn't even ask you about Kingdom Come and everything else. Let me just throw that in there. Where are we at with that?
We got live dates, you know, right now.
Okay.
we've got a fairly famous rock drummer in the band, James Kotak.
I know James. I've interviewed
17
James.
years in the Scorpions, and it was really his brainchild, to be honest with you, to put it back together without Lenny. So it's the original 4 members who never were together again after those early days. And I was honored that James called me to come and do it. But James has had some health issues in this last, it's been going on for about 2 years, I would say, and creeping up. And now he's on a break for a little while until he gets recouped and recovered and everything. And my good friend who plays in Rock Vault with me out here, Blas Elias, has stepped in. Blas Elias from Slaughter. He stepped in to take over the drums for now. And we've got some dates. Oh, well, we're here. I don't know if anyone's going to be in Los Angeles, but we've got the Whiskey on, I think that's February 2nd. It's a Thursday night, and we've got Vamped in Las Vegas right next door over here on a Friday. So it's just going to be a 2-off. We might add Salt Lake City. We'll see. And so that's what's coming up.
We got to bring you back to the chance in Poughkeepsie.
Absolutely, absolutely. But Rick and I, the one of the guitar players who also lives in LA, we do have a whole bunch of riffs and songs we're waiting to put together with the rest of the band and get going on that if we can. So.
And Burning Rain, what are we doing? Your man Doug Aldrich with the Dead Daisies, man. He's on fire, that guy.
I know. Daisies are on fire and all over the world all the time. I do owe him a phone call. So before the holidays, I think we'll discuss whether or not we can do something else in 2023 and get something else off the ground. Because now it's been, it must be going on 3-4 years since we released that last record, Face the Music, which got some really good sea legs at the time. We didn't get to play live on it too much. You know, we played the Frontiers Rock Fest and a couple other little gigs here and there. And but it's funny because of all the bands that I do, and I think all the bands that he does, that one online gets, a lot of attention. People are always asking about that band all the time. So
it's great.
Do another record, and I don't know if the Dead Daisies are ever going to slow down. They may not.
Oh boy, I don't know if they're on a really good high right now. Well, hey, prayers to our buddy James. He's a great guy. I've interviewed James a few times. All the best. All right, well, here we are at Pat Soundbytes, rocking with these guys. It doesn't get any better than this. Stay well and safe, my friends. Keep rocking.
Keep it rocking, Patrick. Thanks for having us.
Okay, thanks.